How far would you go to protect a secret? Not a mistake, not a lie. A secret so dark that if it ever surfaced, your entire life would collapse. Your family destroyed, your freedom erased, your name forever cursed. Would you run? Would you confess? Or would you convince yourself there's only one permanent solution? Tonight's story follows a man who believed he could outsmart the truth. A man who mistook silence for safety. A man who thought if he erased the evidence, the past would die with it. He was wrong, and the cost was unimaginable. Before we continue, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Take a moment to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. You're part of this community, and we'd love to hear from you. This case begins in 2019, in the outskirts of Riverside County, California. At the center of it was a man named Daniel Mercer. Born in 1987, Daniel was described by nearly everyone who knew him as dependable, charming, and hardworking. He had the kind of personality that made people feel comfortable almost instantly. He worked with his hands, fixing engines, repairing industrial equipment, doing the kind of labor that kept businesses running quietly in the background. But more than anything else, Daniel carefully cultivated the image of a family man. He lived with his wife, Lauren, their young son, and a large rescue dog in a modest suburban home. Neighbors saw him mowing the lawn on weekends, grilling in the evenings, waving politely as he backed his truck out of the driveway every morning. From the outside, nothing about Daniel suggested danger, and that was exactly the point. Lauren came from a large, close-knit family. Sunday gatherings were routine. Birthdays, graduations, cookouts. Family wasn't just important to them. It was everything. Among Lauren's siblings was her younger sister, Monica Reyes, a single mother raising 4 children. Because Monica worked long shifts, her kids often stayed with Lauren and Daniel, sometimes for weekends, sometimes for weeks at a time during school breaks. Daniel was the cool uncle. He helped with homework, drove them to practice, bought snacks on the way home. No one questioned it. No one suspected anything. Why would they? Monica's oldest daughter was Isabella Reyes. At just 16 years old, Isabella was already exceptional. She was an honor roll student, enrolled in advanced placement classes, and had earned academic recognition since elementary school. Teachers described her as focused and mature beyond her years. She played violin, volunteered as a peer tutor, and dreamed of attending college early through a dual enrollment program. At home, Isabella was a second parent. She helped her younger siblings read. She braided her sister's hair. She made sure homework was finished before bedtime. To her family, Isabella wasn't just loved, she was admired, which made what happened next all the more devastating. Somewhere between late 2018 and early 2019, something shifted. Daniel began paying Isabella extra attention. At first, it was subtle. Private conversations, late-night texts, compliments that crossed an invisible line. He positioned himself as her protector, someone who understood her in ways no one else did. He praised her intelligence, her maturity, her ambition. And slowly, deliberately, he blurred the boundaries. Isabella was young. She trusted him, and he knew exactly how to exploit that. What began as manipulation soon escalated into something far darker, something that occurred within the family home, often when others were nearby, unaware of what was happening just rooms away. Even worse, there were indications that her younger sister was also targeted, though the full extent of that abuse would remain largely hidden. Daniel had done what predators do best. He hid in plain sight. Isabella began documenting her feelings in a private digital journal. In it, she described confusion, fear, and a distorted sense of attachment. Daniel alternated between affection and cruelty, one moment promising love and protection, the next withdrawing completely. Classic control, classic grooming. He convinced her that what they shared was special, that no one else would understand, that if the truth ever came out, she would be the one blamed. And then came the promises. Daniel told her to be patient, that when she turned 18, everything would change, that he would leave Lauren, that they would start over somewhere else. He even spoke about children. None of it was real, but Isabella didn't know that. In the summer of 2019, Isabella discovered she was pregnant. When her family found out, shock rippled through the household, but it was followed by reassurance. Monica promised her daughter that she wouldn't face this alone. Isabella refused to name the father. There were suspicions, rumors involving an older acquaintance outside the family, but nothing concrete. Daniel made sure of that, Privately, he panicked. He doubled down on control, messaging Isabella constantly, insisting she stay close to him. At one point, he attempted to pressure her into terminating the pregnancy, going so far as to obtain pills for her. She refused, and that refusal changed everything. Daniel's tone shifted from affectionate to possessive. "I need you with me all the time. You're mine. I love you so much it scares me." Then came messages that sent a chill through investigators later. "I love you so much I could kill you and cry." Another followed soon after. "You're stuck with me until you die." At the time, Isabella didn't fully grasp what those words meant. Daniel did, because the walls were closing in, and he knew it. On a quiet weekday morning in December 2019, Isabella left for school like any other day. She kissed her siblings goodbye and boarded the bus, with her backpack and an overnight bag. She never came home. By mid-afternoon, her younger sister returned alone. No Isabella, no explanation. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. And while her family searched desperately for answers, Daniel Mercer was already executing a plan, one he believed would erase the truth forever. Security footage later confirmed that just after midday, Isabella left the school grounds, not with friends, not with a stranger, but with someone she believed she could trust. Daniel Mercer. He told her they were finally going to leave, that this was the day everything changed, that they just needed to get a few things first. Isabella brought an overnight bag because she believed him. She didn't know this wasn't an escape. It was a one-way trip. Daniel drove her to his workplace, a vehicle processing yard on the edge of town. The site was massive, rows of abandoned cars, heavy machinery, industrial dumpsters, and deafening background noise from crushing equipment and metal loaders. Daniel knew this place intimately. He knew where cameras were placed. He knew where blind spots existed. He knew when workers came and went. And most importantly, he knew which areas were loud enough to swallow screams. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't emotional. It was planned. At some point, Daniel parked near a rust-red sedan that had already been marked for destruction. The car was scheduled to be crushed the following day. Any DNA inside would be obliterated. Any trace erased. He told Isabella to step out of the truck. That's when she realized something was wrong. The promises stopped. The affection vanished. The tone shifted. Daniel didn't talk about running away anymore. He didn't need to. Without warning, Daniel wrapped his hands around Isabella's throat. She fought back. Her body struggled instinctively as air vanished from her lungs. Her vision blurred. Her legs weakened. Daniel watched. But something unexpected happened. He couldn't finish it. Strangulation required intimacy, eye contact, proximity, time, and even he couldn't stomach what he was doing. So he let go. Isabella collapsed to the ground, unconscious. For a brief moment, she was still alive. The call for help, or permission. Panicking, Daniel stepped away and pulled out his phone. He called his older brother, Marcus. Marcus would later describe Daniel's voice as frantic, unstable, barely coherent. Daniel told him everything. What he'd done, where he was, what he feared. Marcus was horrified. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to do. And before he could process it, Daniel ended the call. Then he walked back toward Isabella. Daniel reached into his waistband and pulled out a handgun. This time, there was no hesitation. No struggle. One shot, straight to the chest. Isabella died instantly. She was 16 years old. The unborn child she carried died with her. And in that moment, Daniel Mercer crossed the point of no return. What followed was methodical. Daniel wrapped Isabella's body in plastic, then rolled her into an old industrial carpet. He gathered soil soaked with blood and packed it in with her. Using heavy equipment, he compressed the bundle tight, small enough to fit inside a large trash container. He placed it into a dumpster he personally oversaw. Then he waited. That evening, Daniel went home. Lauren later told investigators something that still haunts her. Daniel slept better that night than he had in months. No pacing, no anxiety, no restlessness. It was as if a burden had been lifted. The next morning, Daniel returned to work early. He personally ensured the dumpster containing Isabella's remains was collected. He watched it leave the yard, knowing exactly where it would end up. A landfill. Tens of thousands of tons of waste. A grave no one could possibly search. Before leaving, Daniel used a telescopic loader to move the red sedan into the crushing zone. Metal screamed. Steel collapsed. Evidence vanished. It's done. Daniel called his brother again. This time his voice was calm. He explained exactly what he'd done. How he'd killed her. How he'd disposed of her body. how no one would ever find her. Then he said, "It's done. I can move on now." Marcus would later say those words replayed in his head every night. A family searching for a ghost. While Daniel tied up loose ends, Isabella's family spiraled into terror. Her phone was silent, her social media inactive. No one had seen her since school. Police initially treated the case as a possible runaway, but Monica knew her daughter. Isabella would never leave her siblings behind. Never. Days into the search, Monica began combing through Isabella's room. That's when she found it, a deleted digital journal recovered from the computer's recycle bin. Inside were entries describing a secret relationship with someone Isabella referred to as M. The love, the fear, the control. Monica's stomach dropped. She asked Isabella's younger sister who M was. After a long silence, the truth came out. M wasn't a stranger. It was Uncle Daniel. Police arrived at Daniel and Lauren's house that same day. Daniel laughed at first, called it absurd, insulting, impossible. He even offered the officers drinks while they searched the home. But when detectives presented the recovered journal entries, the mood shifted. Daniel didn't panic. He didn't rage. He stayed calm, too calm. Daniel admitted there had been rumors in the past, but dismissed them as fantasies. Lauren backed him up, saying the family had once distanced themselves over similar accusations, only to later reconcile. To Daniel, this was just another storm he could talk his way through. He was wrong, because investigators were about to uncover proof he couldn't erase. As detectives dug deeper into Isabella's disappearance, one detail resurfaced that would become critical. Months earlier, Isabella had been the victim of an assault by an older acquaintance outside the family. At the time, medical exams were conducted and evidence collected, including biological samples taken from her clothing. Back then, investigators focused on the known suspect. But there had been something else. A second DNA profile, unidentified, unexplained, and quietly stored away. Now with Daniel Mercer under suspicion, that forgotten sample took on new meaning. Daniel was brought in for formal questioning. He stayed composed, answered politely, made eye contact, never raised his voice. When asked to provide a DNA sample, he didn't resist. Why would he? He believed the body was gone, the evidence destroyed, the past buried under mountains of trash. But DNA has a long memory. On January 12, 2020, lab results came back. The unidentified DNA sample found months earlier matched Daniel Mercer. It had been there all along, silent, waiting. The truth was no longer theoretical. Daniel had lied. He wasn't just a concerned uncle. He wasn't falsely accused. He had been involved with Isabella, illegally, criminally, and now undeniably. Daniel was officially labeled a person of interest. But investigators still faced a problem. They could prove abuse. They couldn't yet prove murder. That changed when police received an unexpected phone call. It was Marcus Mercer. Daniel's brother had spent weeks wrestling with what he'd heard. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard Daniel's voice. Detached, relieved, unrepentant. Marcus told detectives everything. The frantic call, the confession, the follow-up call claiming it was handled. He admitted he'd struggled to come forward. But the weight of knowing became unbearable. Daniel was brought in again. This time, detectives confronted him with his brother's statements. Daniel scoffed, called Marcus unstable, accused him of twisting words, claimed it was all a misunderstanding. But the tone had shifted. The mask was slipping. Daniel was arrested, not yet for murder, but for sexual offenses involving a minor. And behind bars, he made the mistake that sealed his fate. Investigators placed a wired informant into Daniel's jail cell. The instructions were simple. Listen, don't lead. Let Daniel talk. It didn't take long. Daniel wanted to be understood. He wanted to explain. And once he started, he didn't stop. No one will ever find her. Daniel told the informant everything. The school pickup, the junkyard, the blind spots, the gunshot. He described how the landfill would soon be developed into housing, how any remaining evidence would be buried permanently. Pride even? When the recordings were handed to detectives, they knew they had the truth. But they still needed proof, something tangible, something the jury could hold on to. Authorities secured the landfill. What awaited them was staggering. Over 150,000 tons of waste, stacked nearly 80 feet deep, spanning acres. Searching it would cost millions, and there was no guarantee they'd find anything at all. Still, they tried. For weeks, crews sifted through trash. Dogs searched. Helicopters circled overhead. The smell was unbearable. But Isabella's body was never found. Just when hope was fading, investigators uncovered something else. Items of clothing consistent with what Isabella had last been wearing. Damaged, soiled, but recognizable. It wasn't a body, but it was enough. Combined with the DNA match, the recorded jailhouse confession, the threatening messages, the case finally came together. On July 28, 2020, prosecutors presented the evidence to a grand jury. The decision was swift. Daniel Mercer was charged with first-degree murder for Isabella and her unborn child. For the first time since the day she vanished, her family felt something close to justice. But the hardest part was still ahead, waiting for trial. Years passed. Delays, motions, appeals. Daniel aged behind bars, still insisting he was innocent, still claiming there was no body, no proof. But truth doesn't disappear just because it's hidden. It waits. And when the trial finally arrived, everything Daniel had buried would resurface. On a warm morning in September 2024, Daniel Mercer stood in a California courtroom as the charges were read aloud. First-degree murder, sexual crimes against a minor, the death of an unborn child. If convicted, he faced life in prison without parole and potentially even harsher consequences under California law. Daniel showed no emotion, no tears, no remorse, no reaction. To anyone watching, he looked like a man waiting for a delayed flight, not someone accused of destroying an entire family. The prosecution knew this case would be difficult. There was no body, no murder weapon, no eyewitness to the killing. So they focused on patterns, behavior, control, fear, words. They told the jury this wasn't a crime of passion. It was a crime of preservation, a man trying to save his own life by erasing someone else's. One of the first pieces of evidence presented were the messages Daniel had sent Isabella. Screens lit up the courtroom. Jurors read in silence as the words appeared one by one. I love you so much I could kill you and cry. You're stuck with me until you die. There was no context that softened them, no explanation that made them harmless. The room felt heavier with every word. Then Isabella's younger sister took the stand. Her voice shook. She spoke about code names, about secrecy, about things she didn't fully understand at the time. She told the jury how Isabella changed, became anxious, withdrawn, afraid of upsetting Daniel. At one point, she had to stop speaking entirely. The courtroom sat in complete silence. Even Daniel couldn't look at her. The brother who couldn't stay silent. Marcus Mercer was next. He described the phone calls in detail, the panic, the confession, the calm that followed. He admitted his guilt for waiting, but explained the impossible position he'd been placed in. I didn't want to believe my brother was capable of this, he said. But I knew if I didn't speak, I'd be complicit. Daniel stared straight ahead. He never looked at Marcus. Perhaps the most damning moment came when the jailhouse recordings were played. Daniel's own voice filled the room. Casual, detailed, certain. He described how no one would ever find her, how development would cover everything, how he was finally free. The jurors didn't need to be told how chilling it was. They could hear it themselves. The defense argued doubt. No body, no weapon, no eyewitness. They claimed the recordings were unreliable, that Marcus had motives, that Isabella could have run away. But the story didn't hold. Too many pieces fit together. Too many lies collapsed under scrutiny. The jury left the room. Less than 1 hour later, they returned. Daniel stood. The verdict was read, guilty on all counts. Isabella's mother collapsed into tears. Her siblings held each other. Years of waiting ended in a single word. Weeks later, the court reconvened for sentencing. The judge spoke directly to Daniel. You used your position of trust to destroy a child. You believed you could erase your crime. You were wrong. Daniel was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He would never walk free again. Even after the verdict, one thing remained missing. Isabella's body was never recovered. Her family never got a funeral, never got a goodbye, never got a place to grieve. Their justice came with an absence that could never be filled. Daniel Mercer believed silence would protect him. He believed trash, steel, and time would erase the truth. But truth doesn't disappear, it waits. And when it surfaces, it destroys everything built on the lie. When the courtroom emptied, there was no celebration, no sense of victory. Justice had been served, but justice couldn't bring Isabella Reyes back. Her bedroom remained untouched for months. Her violin rested where she last placed it. Her siblings still waited, instinctively, for her to walk through the door. Life moved forward, but it moved forward unevenly. Isabella had been everything predators look for, and everything families are proud of. Responsible, ambitious, loving. She trusted adults. She believed in family. She assumed safety where safety should have existed. And that trust was weaponized against her. Daniel Mercer didn't just take her life. He took her chance to leave home on her own terms, her ability to grow, change, and dream. He stole a life before it ever fully began. The weight her family carries. For Monica, the pain never resolved, it transformed. She blamed herself for trusting Daniel, for allowing sleepovers, for missing the signs. Therapy helped, but the questions never left. What if I had checked her phone sooner? What if I had listened more closely? Her younger children struggled too. Birthdays felt incomplete. Holidays felt quieter. Isabella was missing from every photograph that followed. One of the cruelest truths of this case is that there is no place to visit. No headstone, no final resting place, just a landfill, now paved, developed, and silent. A place that holds secrets no one will ever fully uncover. For the family, grief has no coordinates, only memories. In prison, Daniel's world shrank to concrete walls and metal doors. No family dinners, no children growing up, no future. The man who believed he could control everything lost everything. And unlike Isabella, he lived long enough to understand exactly what he'd done. Cases like this don't always begin with violence. They begin with trust, with familiarity, with access, with silence. Predators rarely look like monsters. They look like neighbors, relatives, friends. And that's what makes them dangerous. Isabella's story is now taught in advocacy programs and discussed in classrooms, not as a statistic but as a warning. Her journal helped expose the truth. Her sister's courage helped convict a killer. Her life, though short, mattered. And it still does. Daniel Mercer believed that if he destroyed the evidence, the truth would die. But the truth doesn't need a body. It needs voices, courage, and the willingness to confront what's uncomfortable. Isabella was silenced, but her story wasn't. And as long as it's told, she is not forgotten. Closing line, emotional ender. Some secrets rot in the dark. Others rise to the surface, no matter how deep they're buried.